The FAA just broke 2.5 months of silence. Flight 9 is approved, but this victory just exposed SpaceX's biggest nightmare. Ship 35 is dying. 3 catastrophic engine failures, emergency repairs. Booster 14 vanishing from the pad overnight. Here's what's terrifying. SpaceX has permission to launch, but their rocket is broken. May 27th deadline approaching fast. Elon's reputation on the line. Billions at stake. Will they pull off the impossible or witness the most expensive failure in space history? The answer will shock you. Let's dive right in. Here's what happened behind closed doors. For 2.5 months, SpaceX engineers sat in endless meetings with FAA officials, document after document, safety review after safety review. The Flight 8 mishap investigation consumed everything. Then on May 20th, breakthrough. The FAA released their bombshell statement. SpaceX has satisfactorily addressed the causes of the mishap. But this wasn't just approval. This was a complete game changer. The FAA didn't just say yes to Flight 9. They authorized up to 25 Starship launches annually from Starbase. 25 launches per year. That's one launch every 2 weeks. This is unprecedented. This changes everything. But here's where our story takes a terrifying turn. While SpaceX celebrated their regulatory victory, their engineers were fighting a secret war. Ship 35 wasn't just having problems. It was failing. Catastrophically. Picture this. The first static fire test in early May. Engineers gather around monitors. Excitement fills the air. 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Then, disaster. Engine problems forced an immediate emergency rollback to Megabay 2. Engineers swarmed the vehicle like doctors around a patient. Diagnostic after diagnostic revealed the same terrifying truth. The engine was dying. They replaced it. Completely. Rolled Ship 35 out for test number 2 in mid-May. This time, the test looked good on camera. Flames roared, data streamed, success, or so they thought. But something was still wrong. Deep in the engine's heart, something was broken. Another engine replacement, another crushing delay. Why 3 engine swaps on the same vehicle? This isn't normal maintenance. This isn't a simple fix. This suggests a fundamental design flaw that SpaceX isn't talking about. Then came the third test at Massey, the spin prime test, where they load fuel and spin engines without igniting. It's like revving a car engine, but with rocket fuel. Observers reported vigorous venting. In engineering speak, that means something went very wrong. What is SpaceX hiding about these engine failures? What aren't they telling us? But Ship 35 wasn't the only problem child. Booster 14 had its own dark secrets. May 16th, Booster 14 rolls majestically to Pad A. Cameras capture the moment. Fans celebrate online. Integration seems imminent. May 17th, gone, vanished. Back to the production site. No explanation, no statement, no timeline for return. In the rocket business, you don't move a 200-foot booster unless something is seriously wrong. The logistics alone cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. The crane time, the transport equipment, the crew coordination. This wasn't planned maintenance. This was emergency surgery. What did they discover? What problem was so urgent? It required immediate factory return? The silence is deafening. The implications, terrifying. Now comes the crushing timeline pressure. May 27th launch target. Today is May 22nd. That gives SpaceX exactly 5 days to fix whatever critical issue sent Booster 14 back to the factory, verify Ship 35's engines won't explode on ignition, transport both massive vehicles to the launch pad, stack them together in perfect alignment, complete hundreds of final integration checks 5 days for what normally takes 2 weeks. But wait, there's more bad news. May 26th is Memorial Day. Most SpaceX teams take holidays off. That cuts the working timeline to just 4 days. 4 days to save a multi-billion-dollar program. 4 days to preserve America's space leadership. Is this even physically possible, or are we watching SpaceX attempt the impossible? While engineers battled engine demons, another team was upgrading Starbase infrastructure at breakneck speed. May 21st brought a stunning development: 20 new water tanks installed overnight on Pad A's deluge system. The deluge system is SpaceX's answer to the Raptor engine's destructive power. When 33 engines ignite simultaneously, they generate temperatures exceeding 3,000 degrees Celsius. Without water suppression, the concrete pad would crack like an eggshell. 40 total tanks now protect the launch site. That's enough water to fill 2 Olympic swimming pools, released in seconds. But here's the twist that nobody's talking about. Why upgrade infrastructure for a vehicle that might not launch? Either SpaceX knows something we don't, or they're betting everything on a miracle fix. The infrastructure investment suggests confidence, but the engine failures suggest disaster. Which signal should we believe? The FAA's approval comes with a shocking revelation. They've expanded the hazard zone to 1,600 nautical miles. That's nearly double Flight 8's range. Let that sink in. This means Ship 35 will fly farther than any Starship before it, through the dangerous Straits of Florida, over the Bahamas, into international waters, where recovery becomes nearly impossible. Why would the FAA approve a longer, more dangerous flight path for a vehicle with known engine problems? The answer reveals the FAA's calculated gamble. They believe SpaceX's fixes are real. They're betting American aerospace supremacy on Ship 35's troubled engines. But what if they're wrong? What if the engines fail over populated areas? What if debris rains down on commercial shipping lanes? The stakes have never been higher. The risks, never more terrifying. While SpaceX struggles with technical demons, China isn't waiting. Their space program moves with military precision. Series 1 rocket just completed its 20th launch. 10 consecutive successes, sea-based launches from converted barges. No FAA approval needed. No public mishap investigations. No delays. China launched 6 missions in May alone. They're on track for 100 launches this year, while SpaceX fights for permission to launch once. The contrast is stark. China launches in silence. SpaceX struggles in public view. This isn't just about rockets anymore. This is about who controls the future of space, who dominates the ultimate high ground. Every day SpaceX delays. China pulls further ahead. Behind the engine failures and regulatory approval lies a deeper truth that few understand. Starship isn't just SpaceX's moon rocket. It's NASA's only path to lunar surface operations. It's the Pentagon's hypersonic weapon delivery system. It's humanity's ticket to Mars. If Ship 35 fails, the ripple effects destroy everything. NASA's Artemis program dies. Billions of dollars wasted. Astronauts grounded. Moon missions canceled. Military space advantages evaporate. China's Space Force gains superiority. American satellites become vulnerable. Mars colonization becomes a distant dream. Elon's vision crumbles. Humanity remains trapped on Earth. But if it succeeds, everything changes. Lunar bases become reality. Mars missions launch within the decade. American space dominance extends for generations. The weight of history rests on Ship 35's damaged engines. Road closures are scheduled for tonight, May 22nd, 8 p.m. to May 23rd, 4 a.m. Ship 35 returns to the factory for final payload integration. Flight termination systems get installed. The point of no return approaches. After tonight, there's no turning back. Either SpaceX launches by month's end or admits defeat to the watching world. Teams work around the clock. Engineers push beyond exhaustion. Technicians install systems with trembling hands. The pressure is unbearable. The timeline impossible. The stakes astronomical. But here's what SpaceX won't admit publicly. The engine problems aren't random failures. They're systematic issues pointing to a deeper design flaw. 3 different engines. 3 different failures. Same vehicle. This suggests contamination in the fuel system, or manufacturing defects in the engine bay, or fundamental design problems with the Raptor engines themselves. Any of these possibilities would delay Starship for months. SpaceX knows this. The FAA knows this. But they're proceeding anyway. Why? Because the alternative is worse than the risk. Road closure notices posted, transport equipment stage, recovery ships moving to position. Everything suggests SpaceX will attempt the impossible. Launch a vehicle with known problems. Risk everything on a single flight. May 30th emerges as the most likely launch date. Memorial Day passes. Teams return to work. Final preparations begin. But can they really fix months of problems in days? Can they overcome systematic failures with desperate measures? The question isn't whether they should launch. It's whether they can afford not to. The world watches. China advances. History waits. What happens next will determine the future of human civilization in space. The engines that failed 3 times must work perfectly once. The booster that disappeared must return flawlessly. The timeline that seems impossible must somehow succeed, because failure isn't just about one rocket. It's about America's future among the stars. So here we are. The FAA says go, but the hardware says wait. SpaceX faces their most impossible deadline yet. In just days, and we'll discover whether American engineering genius can overcome systematic failures, whether Elon's Mars dream survive contact with reality, whether the future belongs to SpaceX or China's silent efficiency. This isn't just about rockets anymore. It's about who writes the next chapter of human history. Ship 35 sits in the factory tonight. Engines replaced, hopes pinned to metal and fire. Booster 14 hides its secrets behind closed doors. Engineers work through exhaustion, betting everything on a miracle. But here's what keeps me awake at night. What if the engines fail again? What if this entire timeline is just SpaceX's desperate gamble, disguised as confidence? The next few days will answer everything, and whatever happens will change space exploration forever. Here at Space Corps, we'll be tracking every move, every test, every secret development. Because this story, it's just beginning. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, because when Ship 35 finally lights up those engines, you won't want to miss a single second. What do you think? Can SpaceX pull off the impossible, or are we watching the beginning of the end? Drop your Elon Musk just broke our hearts again. Starship Flight 9? Delayed. But wait, something strange is happening right now. Ship 35 is still on the pad, fully loaded, ready to fly, yet they're not launching. Why? The answer will shock you. While everyone's crying about another delay, the FAA quietly issued notices for May 27. That's just days away. But there's a massive problem. Memorial Day weekend could kill this launch window completely. SpaceX has only 6 days to pull off the impossible or wait weeks for another chance. What's really happening behind those closed doors? The truth is bigger than anyone imagined. This isn't just another delay. It's SpaceX's most critical moment yet. Let's dive right in. So what's really happening at Starbase right now? Ship 35 sits there, like a giant metal monument, 400 feet tall, fully assembled, completely ready. But here's what's driving everyone absolutely crazy. If it's ready to fly, why isn't it flying? The answer lies in what you can't see. While Ship 35 looks perfect from the outside, engineers are racing against time inside. They're installing something called the Flight Termination System. And this isn't just any ordinary piece of equipment. This is literally the kill switch that can blow up the rocket mid-flight if something goes wrong. Think of it as the ultimate safety net that the FAA absolutely demands before any launch. But here's the terrifying part. This system has to be installed at the very last minute. Why? Because once it's armed, there's no room for error. One wrong move, one electrical glitch, and boom! $33 million of rocket becomes expensive fireworks, and that's just the beginning of SpaceX's problems. Remember Booster 14? It was rolled out to the pad, looking absolutely magnificent. Then suddenly, it vanished, rolled back to the factory without explanation. What happened? SpaceX isn't talking, But industry insiders are whispering about a critical discovery. Some say it was an engine issue. Others claim it was a fuel system problem. But what if it's something much bigger? What if they discovered something that could have made Flight 9 SpaceX's biggest disaster yet?